"You're just the IT guy," my family laughed, so I canceled $62,000 in support and replied, "Now survive without me." At my parents' golden anniversary dinner, the person I paid for my brother lifted his glass and declared loudly enough for everyone to hear. We all agreed. Jake gets the memories. I got the $1.9 million lake house. My mother applauded. My father smiled. Mayan added, "Fair is fair." No one looked at me. I did not argue. I didn't inquire who we all were. I simply raised my glass, allowed the silence to lengthen, and said, "Congrats. I'll just take what's mine." Then I smiled quietly, unconcerned, as if I had already made a decision. I did not come there to fight. I came out of habit, obligation, and perhaps even hope. I reserved the venue, covered the $4,300 catering bill, and paid the band in advance because Dad stated they couldn't afford it this month. Even purchased a special cake with their wedding date inscribed in gold. Even so, I was not acknowledged in the speeches as a son, a family member, or as infrastructure. I sat through the toasts, jokes, and their laughter when my brother declared he never wanted the lake house anyhow. No wife, no children. What exactly would he do with it? Everyone laughed. Even Grandpa Joe glanced aside. I did not. I bit into the pricey fillet, wiped my mouth, and said nothing because I could already feel the shift, the mechanism kicking in. It was not wrath. It did not even hurt. It was evident in a chilly, mechanical way, the kind that turns on after years of being tolerated but not seen. They did not want me at the table. They desired what I offered them. So I departed early and silently. There was no scene, just a smile, a nod to the waiter, and a note to my assistant. First thing tomorrow, quantify every asset I've sponsored in that house. They wouldn't see the consequences because, in their minds, I was always the dependable one. The fixer, the donor, the ghost. But that night, I stopped being invisible and began keeping receipts. I didn't sleep that night, and it wasn't because I was upset. I had already passed that stage years ago. I remained up pondering, remembering patterns rather than specific experiences. Because the lake house wasn't the first time they divided the universe into what I could give and receive. I remembered when I covered my sister's $9,800 wedding banquet. When I inquired why she didn't inform me, she chuckled and said, "You don't have a spouse or kids. Might as well make yourself useful." I remember driving 6 hours for Christmas only to discover that my seat had been given to a neighbor. She's alone this year. My mother remarked, "You'll be fine in the kitchen." The kitchen. And as I went peacefully and without incident, my sister wrote, "Wow, can't handle being overlooked, huh?" I remembered checking my banking app that night and freezing the mortgage assistance I'd been paying, the streaming accounts and the shared Prime gone. I remembered the SMS I received. At 9:04 p.m. That night, everything changed. We talked about it. "You've always been a failure. You ruin every holiday, every get-together. We don't need you anymore." That was their idea of closure. No surprise the lake house felt like the final punchline. Because to them, I was never a member of the family. I was only the finance, emotional labor, technician, and backup. I spent $12,400 for the landscaping that made their anniversary party feasible, yet I was not invited. When I inquired, my aunt said, "Oh, it's just immediate family, I hope you understand." When I discontinued the payments, my father texted, "Don't be dramatic." Wasn't that always the phrase? Don't be dramatic. As if years of calm obedience could be transformed into tantrums the moment I stopped offering. I recall canceling my sister's wedding not out of vengeance, but because she spent my money as if she deserved it, as if I didn't exist. They constantly acted as if it was love, and that I was assisting. But what they actually meant was that I was useful, that I remained mute. I would never say no. And I didn't for years because I wished they could see me. I figured if I contributed enough, mended enough, and paid enough, they'd finally view me as more than just the one who got it wrong. But they just never saw utility. I pay, and they clap. I give, and they distribute it among themselves. I show up and they humiliate me at every sporting event, family gathering, dinner, and milestone. I provided funding for the performance, the illusion, the ideal family with a broken son who didn't ask for much but gave even more. They never thanked you. They simply expected I would keep turning there, sending money and claiming I hadn't noticed. But I noticed. When I was injured, they looked the other way. How my mother told others, "It's fine." Really, he still has one good arm. As if it made me recoverable. My brother used to laugh and nickname me RoboCop every Thanksgiving, as if I were a party trick. My father said, "We're not going to walk on eggshells just because you had a bad year. One bad year." That's how he described the decade I spent reconstructing my life. That is the pattern. They don't think I'm important, yet they need me. They want presents without the giver, services without the person, and access without acknowledgement. I used to assume they didn't realize how much I gave, but it wasn't. They knew. They relied on it. That's why the lake house was no surprise. It was only the last confirmation. And as I glanced at the tumbler of whiskey in my fingers that night, I came to a decision. I would not continue to give my money, my silence, or my identity. I'd take everything back. Because I wasn't the son who returned home to make things right anymore. I was the son who returned to turn the electricity off. I didn't make a big deal the morning after the lake house. Announcement. I made a list of each room and thing, not out of spite, inventory, or clarity. Everything I had bought, installed, paid for, or maintained over the years belonged to me again. By 9 a.m., I was in the driveway. My brother opened the door wearing workout shorts and a protein shake. He didn't say anything, just stood there like someone who realized the tide had gone out and all the buried debris was beginning to emerge. First, the obvious. My smart lock was uninstalled in 3 minutes. Dad's sound system and 65-inch OLED TV, which I bought for him because he deserved a real movie experience, are now gone. The central Wi-Fi mesh I established last year to prevent internet drops during my mother's Zoom calls has been removed. The lighting control app, the kitchen smart faucet, and online access for the security camera are all gone. By lunchtime, the house felt foreign. Not because I had broken anything, but because I had removed infrastructure that they had no idea I had been maintaining. I was not malicious. I was precise. The thermostat lost its remote control. The refrigerator's touch panel went dead. Offline monitoring is carried out by the backup generator. Then came the financials. I opened the mortgage account, withdrew my cosigner information, and initiated the review. I knew the conclusion. They would not qualify for a loan following the refinancing I assisted them with 2 years ago. The phone then plans all 5 lines in my name. I transferred complete ownership. If they did not accept within 72 hours, the lines would shut down. I signed into the streaming services. I canceled each one. Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Amazon Prime, and even the common password manager are all gone. Their Amazon delivery is halted. Their password autofill failed. Their living room television displayed only static. My brother finally said something about 2 p.m. "This is crazy." I didn't respond. I simply unplugged the router and went out. Next, close their company accounts. My parents' business has been relying on my company's infrastructure for over 10 years. Cloud backups, encrypted email, firewall control, and software licensing are all part of my enterprise platform. Never charge them a penny. I opened the gateway and classed their profile to end it. Clean, professional, and final. I left them a message on the dashboard. This system was maintained at no cost for 11 years. As of today, it has been decommissioned. Thank you. They didn't realize how much they relied on me until everything stopped working. By 3:30 p.m., the clinic's main desk messaged me, "We're completely locked out. Please help." I did not respond. I forwarded it to a coworker telling him to charge the full emergency fee, then started the serious cleanup of the lake house. I never wanted it, but I had paid for half of the repairs. New dock, water filtration, and guest cabin upgrades were all from my accounts because I was only assisting. I extracted the invoices and highlighted each transaction. Then I contacted a lawyer. He did not even blink. "You want to reclaim or recoup?" he inquired. "Both," I answered. He began composing a claim quietly and cleanly. No scandal, just facts. Then I returned to the house. The final sweep of the dining table cost $3,800. Mine is reclaimed. The patio chairs, purchased on my card during a family emergency, were loaded into the vehicle. The espresso machine I gave them for Christmas 2 years ago, which my mother said made her feel like someone finally acknowledged her, was wrapped in towels and carefully packaged. My brother attempted to block the passageway at one point. "You're not taking the flooring, man." I merely smiled and continued walking, because I had my receipts. Literally. By dusk, the house felt hollow, still intact but devoid of everything I had poured into it. There was only one thing left. The box. Old and wooden. Tucked in the back of the closet, they kept old photos and forgotten keepsakes. I opened it. Inside were cards I'd written over the years, messages, hospital bracelets, a dried corsage from my sister's high school dance, and a medal from when I had 2 hands. On top is a folded drawing I created when I was 7. "My family," it said. Stick figures are smiling. They had preserved it even after everything. I stared at it for quite a while. Then I closed the box and left it on the dining table, the only item I did not remove. Because I didn't want memories. I desired space. I drove home that night and slept better than I have in years. No calls, texts, or guilt. Just silence. I finally understood. I had not wrecked the family. I had just disconnected myself from the machine that kept it operating. They didn't call immediately. Not the following morning. Not the day following that. The hush lasted 4 entire days. However, it was not tranquil. It was pressure, like a conduit bulging from the inside and about to burst. Then it did. Day 5, 8:17 a.m. I received the first group message from my mother, father, and brother. "You're overreacting. This was a family decision. We thought you'd understand. This doesn't have to be permanent. Let's fix it. You're acting like a stranger." I did not respond. An hour later, my mother sent a separate message. "I'm ashamed that you're trying to punish us instead of talking. This isn't you. You're not a monster." That was the tone, not apology or ownership, only denial, terror, and projection. They were not sorry. They were afraid. Because for the first time in years, I had removed the net, the fallback, the repairer. By lunchtime, my voicemail was filled. My father left 2 identical texts back to back. "Just call me. Don't do anything stupid." What they meant by stupid was permanent. They knew I wasn't lying anymore. The situation worsened by the evening. Aunt Gloria shared a vague Facebook status. "Some people will throw away blood over ego." Subtle. Not enough to identify me. But everybody knew. The smear effort then escalated significantly. It began with a message from my cousin Tasha. "They're saying you're having a breakdown." I attached a screenshot from the family group chat, which I was no longer a member of. "My brother has written, he's been acting differently lately. We need to give him space. He's not thinking clearly." Then my mom. "This is what happens when you bottle things up for years." He was always so distant. They weren't simply attempting to gain compassion. They were rewriting history. I was not strategic. I was in a downward spiral. I was not setting boundaries. I was dangerous. Despite this, no one messaged to inquire as to what had truly occurred. They simply thought that the old story remained true. The quiet brother, the awkward one, and the one they pitted. But I was not that person anymore. I was the hurricane they didn't expect. That night, I received a call from a banned number. I almost didn't respond. It was Harper, my brother's girlfriend. Her voice shook. "They're trying to bury you." She claimed she had overheard a conversation. My parents held a conference to discuss the exact phrases she used, and they drew together a timetable to make it appear as if I had been erratic for years. Trying to portray the wedding cancellation, streaming accounts, and company systems as symptoms of mental degeneration. Not a strategy. Not calculating. Breakdown. Harper claimed that even the therapist they had previously hired was becoming involved. My mother had contacted her and asked if she had ever observed any indicators. That's when I realized they weren't attempting to win me back. They were attempting to discredit me, to undo what I had done by painting myself as unstable. The emails appeared next. 2 anonymous ones were sent to my job, with vague claims. concerns about recent emotional shifts, and references to troubling behavior. I traced the IP addresses. One came from my parents' hometown library. The other is from a home ISP. I didn't need anything more. They were desperate. And desperate individuals cease covering their hands. But I did not answer. Not once. Not to messages, posts, or calls. I let silence speak for me. Because I knew what would happen next. Confrontation. They did indeed turn up on Sunday afternoon. My mother, father, and brother were waiting at my door as if it were Thanksgiving and they were dropping off a pie. They did not ring the bell. Just 3 performers standing there waiting for their signal. I let them stand for 2 full minutes before opening the door. We didn't invite them in, did not smile, just said, "You have 5 minutes." My mother began crying immediately. Not from anguish over exposure. She wasn't apologizing, she was cornered. She launched into a diatribe about family, misconceptions, and how quickly this had escalated. My father responded with his line, "You've always been intense, but this isn't you." My brother did not speak, just stood there, jaw tightened. I waited. Then I said this, "You're not here because you care. You're here because the power's off and you don't know how to live in the dark." Silence. Then I looked at my mother. "You let them say I was crazy." I looked at my father. "You watched it happen." I looked at my brother. "And you started it." That was the moment my brother broke. "You're throwing your own family away for what? Pride?" I nearly laughed. I'm throwing you out for survival." They were not accustomed to this version of me. The one who did not flinch. The one who didn't require their approval to finish. My mother tried one last thing. "We're your family." And I stated it simply. Finally, "No, you were. Now you're just people I used to pay for." I then closed the door. They did not knock again. They did not yell. They just stood there, devastated and puzzled, recognizing that the system they had constructed around me had failed and that they had no idea how to reconstruct it without me. They did not expect me to go public. That was their final hope, that I'd remain quiet, that even if I took away the funds, systems, and support, I would still safeguard their reputation. They assumed I would remain in the shadows, that my quiet represented loyalty. It was not. There was restraint. So, I opened the vault. First, the post. A simple caption. For those asking why I went quiet, here's what silence was covering. Attached were screenshots of the group conversation in which my mother stated that he has always been unstable, my brother's message referring to me as a sunk cost, the canceled invoices I paid, and the defamation email tracked back to their network. I did not offer any commentary. No hashtags. There is no anger. Just facts. Within an hour, the message had received over 300 shares from friends, colleagues, and even distant relatives. Then I uploaded the second file, which was video footage from my doorbell camera. My mom is standing in my driveway. My father is behind her, throwing bricks, swinging branches, and screaming. The same people who claimed I was spiraling. The same people are screaming, "We gave you everything." I blurred my face. Not because I had to, but because I wanted the focus to be on the truth rather than retribution. Then came the last upload. A PDF named Receipts. It had bank records from payments I made for their mortgage, streaming, weddings, and tuition. Email confirmations include my signature authorizing home upgrades, travel, and business systems. Legal documents confirming that I had distanced myself from their debts. There are no edits, no interpretation, just reality. Then I closed my laptop. I didn't check for comments. I didn't wait for reactions. Because the truth was not for them. It was intended for the people to whom they attempted to lie. By the evening, my inbox was filled with emails from old acquaintances, co-workers, even a few cousins. My cousin Tasha sent one message that stuck out. "You didn't destroy the family. You revealed it." Even better, a quote from my uncle's dental clinic assistant. "So you were the one keeping it all running. We had no idea. They always said you were just the IT guy. We're sorry." That hit was different. Because that is how the family narrative has always been. I was the broken one, the helper, the unhappy one in need of a cause. and they realized I was the structure. When I went away, everything collapsed. There's no drama, no vengeance, just balance. My mother had removed her social media accounts the following day. My father's email auto-replied, "Out of office, indefinitely." My brother went quiet online, erased old posts, and set his profile to private. It was not a shame, it was exposure. They couldn't spin it anymore, not while the receipts were public. And that's when the balance shifted. They did not simply lose a son, they forgot the story they told about him. They requested to meet one final time. No group message, no pressure, just a quick email from my father. "If you've got 10 minutes, we'd like to see you." No drama, just closure. It was scripted, premeditated, and polished to sound plausible, as if they had finally engaged someone to edit their apologies. I didn't respond. I showed up. Same house, same driveway. I walked away from the same front door months ago. My brother wasn't present. It was just my parents waiting in the living room, as if this were some bizarre sort of a family counseling session. My mother sprang up when she saw me, her eyes already misty. My father did not move. "Thank you for coming," she added, as if we were strangers conducting a commercial transaction. I did not speak. I nodded once and sat across from them. The room was quite clean, two-staged. The fireplace flickered, even though it was July. The coffee table was equipped with 2 mugs. One was named World's Best Son. My mother shoved it toward me, as if it were going to reset the board. I did not touch it. My father cleared his throat. Then he started into, "We reflected on what happened and what we said, and we want to make it clear. We did not mean to make you feel unwanted." He said it as if he was trying not to cross a legal line, as if this was a carefully crafted damage control statement rather than a confession. My mother responded next. "You've always been really powerful, so capable. We hadn't realized how much pressure you were under." They hadn't realized. That was the theme of the day. We now disregard you. We have now utilized you. Just an oops. We hadn't noticed. I let them talk. I allowed them to express their regrets about how things looked. They were saddened that the family was so broken now. They talked about treatment, regaining trust, and beginning over. They utilized every phrase except for the ones that mattered. "We were mistaken. We were cruel. We treated you like a service, not as a son." Finally, my father added, "We miss you." Then came quiet, waiting. And I gave them something they didn't expect. I stood up calmly, composed, and said, "You did not miss me. You missed the infrastructure. You missed out on funding. You missed the version of me who paid, remained silent, and made you believe it was love." My mom let out a gasp. My father blinked as if someone had smacked him. I did not stop. "You do not miss me. You miss what I gave you. Free labor. Silent compliance. The automatic answer is yes." I turned to my mother. "You allowed them to lie about me. You let them claim I was unstable. And when I remained silent, you called it serenity. It wasn't peaceful. I was the one who survived you." Then to my father. "You taught me that loyalty equaled obedience. That love was won through sacrifice, but that was not love. It was useful." They attempted to interrupt. I continued going. "You cannot beg for grace after decades of casual cruelty. You can't pretend this was a misunderstanding. This was a transaction. And I ultimately terminated my subscription." My mother started to cry. Not quiet tears, but heaving sobs, as if she were auditioning for absolution. I did not move. She muttered, "But we're still your parents." And I said, "You were. And you used that title like a credit card with no restrictions. It's now maxed out, and you're responsible for the default." My father stood up. He appeared older than I remembered, smaller, as if he had been deflated. He said one thing, his voice breaking. "Is that it? Have you just finished?" I stared him in the eyes. I was finished the night you gave away my seat for hardwood bargains. This question mark, I'm just turning off the lights. They had nothing left to say, and I did not wait for a goodbye. I stepped out past the framed images that were never updated. They kept the fireplace lit for show. Past the phony mug that read, "World's Best Son." I closed the door behind me. Did not slam it. I just clicked it shut. Like a story ending. That night I received one final message from my mother. "You will come to regret this one day. Family is forever." And I responded with the one reality they never expected. No. Family is something that one earns. And you returned it broken. I then blocked her number. Then I slept. There is no guilt. There's no noise. There's no weight on my chest. Because I did not just say no to them. I said yes to myself for the first time in 20 years.